was scared what would happen to me if I disobeyed him.
Tonight, a continuing KVUE Defenders investigation.
A Cedar Park police officer accused of sexually assaulting women he met on the job.
It's just really hard to talk about and to go back to that.
Last night, the KVUE Defenders showed how a Cedar Park police officer stayed on the force and on the street after a woman told the department he sexually assaulted her and how he struck again.
After news of his eventual arrest for sexual assault, at least 2 other women came forward saying he had sexually assaulted them years earlier. Here's senior reporter Tony Bohetz.
Mark and Quita, tonight we are sharing the story of one of those 2 women who went to authorities years later. And an advocate for sexual assault survivors explains why Officer Keco Motton may have preyed upon her and others in the first place. We want to warn you, the story does contain details about sexual assault.
Every time a police car drove by my house, I felt so scared.
The trauma of that day in November 2019 runs deep for this 42-year-old mother who asked that we not show her face or use her name. Cedar Park police officer Keco Motton was among several officers who responded to her home after she called 911 in the midst of a heated custody dispute with her ex-husband.
Motton used that as an opportunity to trick me into being alone with him.
She says Officer Motton had a ploy.
He offered to go look at my son's room and make sure he didn't have any drugs or anything dangerous in there.
While in his room, the woman says Officer Motton thrust himself onto her.
It was so hard to make sense of it at the moment. And I was trying to tell myself maybe it was just an accident.
For 4 years, she made no report to the Cedar Park Police Department, although she did tell her closest friends and family.
I really struggled for a long time trying to figure out if I should say something because I felt like it was the right thing to do, but I was so scared of what would happen.
Developing tonight, a former Cedar Park police officer is in jail accused of sexual assault.
Then in May 2023, she saw that authorities had arrested Officer Motton for sexual assault.
I promised myself that if somebody had the courage to come forward and say what he did, then I wouldn't leave them out there all alone.
This Texas Rangers investigation report shows the woman provided a statement 3 days after Officer Motton's arrest and 3 days before he died by suicide. Experts suspect Officer Motton chose these women because he believed they were less likely to report what happened, or because of their own troubled histories or involvement with law enforcement.
Perpetrators of rape seek out vulnerabilities in individuals.
Elizabeth Donegan led the Austin Police Sex Crime Unit for 9 years and frequently trains police and other groups nationally on investigating and prosecuting sexual assault.
When you have a police officer who's accused of rape, they're in a position of power. They have the ability to look at the criminal history of these individuals and then use that as leverage to commit the rape, and then hopefully that victim does not report to law enforcement.
As part of our investigation, we interviewed this woman who reported to Cedar Park Police that Officer Motton sexually assaulted her in November 2023.
I was just like, oh my gosh, I gotta tell somebody, like they must not know.
That woman also had a criminal history that included drug possession and burglary of a habitation dating back a decade. She suspects that may have played a role in police not taking her seriously. Cedar Park Police said in a statement to the KVUE Defenders that evidence did not support the woman's claim, but would not comment further.
I could tell he was struggling with how to go about doing what he was trying to do.
A second woman was the subject of an investigation herself for having a sexual relationship with a 16-year-old boy when she encountered Officer Motton. But it was her report that led to sexual assault charges against Motton. That woman later pleaded guilty to sexual assault of a child, received a form of probation, and now must register as a sex offender. Policing expert Theron Bowman, a former chief in Arlington, said departments must also create trust in their communities so victims, such as the woman from 2019, know that their allegations will be taken seriously, even if it is against one of their own.
When they call the police, they know that there's going to be a neutral, legitimate investigation that ensues, and they're going to look at the facts and they're going to get to the bottom of the situation, and they're going to render a decision based upon the facts and the evidence.
But that's not how this woman felt when she encountered Officer Motton.
He knew I had limited options, that he knew I was desperate to keep my son safe.
6 years after her encounter with Officer Motton, one of the first known victims says she still struggles with the emotional aftermath of that day.
I feel grief for these other women and what they went through. And I feel guilt that I didn't do more.
A pain that she says is only eased by the fact that the truth about what happened to her and other women is now known as they turn to accountability and justice. 2 of the 3 women we interviewed are now suing the Cedar Park Police Department. The department and city cited those suits as reasons they cannot discuss how the department handled previous allegations about Officer Motton. The statement said, "We take all allegations of sexual assault very seriously and make every effort to seek justice and accountability."